In the southern Red Sea, two barren islands, the Doumeira Islands, sit at the crossroads of Africa and the world. Though uninhabited and seemingly insignificant, their location is everything. These islands, along with the Ras Doumeira Peninsula, mark the tense border between Eritrea and Djibouti. Overlooking the Bab-el-Mandeb Strait, the Gate of Tears, they command one of the world's most vital shipping lanes. Whoever controls this land holds sway over a global trade artery, making these rocks a magnet for international attention. The dispute over Doumeira is not just a local feud, it's a global concern, affecting shipping, energy, and military strategy from Europe to Asia. Colonial-era ambiguity left the border undefined, fueling decades of tension and occasional violence. Today the islands are quiet, but the political waters around them are turbulent, watched by diplomats and generals worldwide. The story of Doumeira is proof that even the smallest places can shape the fate of nations. The Bab-el-Mandeb Strait is a narrow, strategic passage, just 20 miles wide at its tightest point, yet it plays an outsized role in the world's economy. It connects the Red Sea to the vast Indian Ocean, forming a vital link between Europe, Asia, and Africa. Every day, massive cargo ships, oil tankers, and container vessels navigate these waters. In fact, 10% of the world's goods, oil, and gas pass through here each year, making it one of the busiest maritime corridors on the planet. Without this shortcut, ships would be forced to take the long and treacherous route around Africa's Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks to their journeys and driving up costs and delays for businesses and consumers worldwide. The Doumeira Islands and the Ras Doumeira Peninsula sit right at this choke point, perched at the edge of the world's shipping superhighway. Whoever controls these tiny pieces of land holds a powerful vantage point over global trade. Any disruption here, whether from conflict, accident, or blockade, would send shockwaves through the global economy, causing shortages, price spikes, and uncertainty in markets far beyond the region. That's why the sovereignty of these islands is fiercely contested, and why world powers keep a close watch, deploying naval patrols and surveillance to ensure the strait remains open. The stakes are enormous. Stability here means stable prices, reliable supply chains, and uninterrupted access to energy and goods for millions of people. The Doumeira dispute is not just about land or borders, it's about the uninterrupted flow of modern commerce and the prosperity of nations that depend on it. For Eritrea, Djibouti, and the world at large, the Bab-el-Mandeb is simply too important to ignore. Its fate affects us all. The world's eyes are fixed on this narrow stretch of water, and the silent islands that guard it, standing watch over the river of global trade that never sleeps. The Doumeira dispute began with colonial confusion. In the early 1900s, Italy and France drew vague borders between Eritrea and what would become Djibouti. Their 1901 treaty left the status of the Doumeira region ambiguous, with both sides interpreting the border in their favor. For decades, the area was remote and overlooked, until independence brought the old maps back to life. Eritrea and Djibouti, inheriting colonial-era claims, revived the dispute with new urgency. Competing historical documents and maps only deepened the confusion. Across Africa, such colonial legacies have fueled countless border conflicts. In Doumeira, a few words on a century-old treaty became the legal battleground for modern sovereignty. The problem wasn't created by today's leaders, but it's theirs to solve. The legacy of unclear borders still threatens peace in this strategic region. For years, the Doumeira dispute simmered quietly, until 2008. Eritrean troops built fortifications on contested ground, sparking a rapid military buildup. In June, open warfare erupted. Artillery and gunfire echoed across Ras Doumeira. Djibouti suffered heavy losses. Eritrea stayed silent on its casualties. The world responded fast. UN condemnation, US and French support for Djibouti, and urgent calls for peace. Eritrea denied starting the conflict and rejected mediation. The fighting ended after days, but Eritrean troops stayed, and the border became a tense standoff. The 2008 clash shattered trust and proved how quickly this dispute could ignite. The world now watched Doumeira, knowing silence could turn to gunfire again at any moment. After the violent clashes of 2008, the world watched anxiously as tensions simmered between Eritrea and Djibouti. In 2010, Qatar stepped in as a mediator, brokering a peace deal that brought a glimmer of hope to the troubled region. As part of the agreement, Qatari peacekeepers were deployed to physically separate the two sides, acting as a buffer to prevent further bloodshed and restore a sense of order. For 7 years, Qatari troops maintained a fragile calm, their presence a constant reminder that peace was possible, but never guaranteed. They patrolled the barren peninsula, deterring new violence and keeping old hostilities in check. Yet beneath the surface, the core dispute remained unresolved. For a time, the guns fell silent and the border was calm, but it was a peace built on external intervention, not mutual trust. In 2017, a sudden diplomatic crisis in the Gulf forced Qatar to withdraw its peacekeepers overnight, leaving the border exposed and vulnerable. Almost immediately, Djibouti accused Eritrea of reoccupying the disputed territory, while Eritrea denied any incursion. The situation escalated rapidly, and old suspicions flared. The risk of renewed conflict returned as both sides rushed troops to the border and braced for confrontation. The African Union and United Nations scrambled to respond, holding emergency meetings and urging restraint to prevent a new war. But with the peacekeepers gone, the crucial buffer had vanished, and the region was left dangerously exposed. The episode revealed just how fragile the peace truly was, dependent on outside forces rather than genuine reconciliation. Without a neutral presence, old rivalries resurfaced almost instantly. The Doumeira border once again became a flashpoint for regional instability and international concern. Its stability was hanging by a thread, with every side watching and waiting for the next move. The lesson was clear: peace in this region is always temporary unless a lasting, locally driven solution is found. The world was reminded how quickly calm can collapse in this strategic corner, where history and geography collide. The fate of the Doumeira Islands remained unresolved, a symbol of the region's lingering uncertainty. And so, the threat of conflict lingered, a constant shadow over a land where peace is as fragile as ever. The Bab-el-Mandeb region is one of the world's most militarized zones, a narrow waterway that connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and, by extension, the Indian Ocean. This strategic chokepoint is vital for global shipping, with millions of barrels of oil and countless goods passing through every day. Djibouti, a small nation on the Horn of Africa, hosts a remarkable lineup. The US, France, China, Japan, and Italy all have military bases here. Nowhere else on Earth do so many rival powers operate side by side, each with their own interests and missions. Camp Lemonnier, America's largest African base, sits just miles from China's first overseas naval outpost. The proximity of these bases highlights the region's importance and the delicate balance of power at play. These powers use Djibouti as a launchpad to fight terrorism, combat piracy, and protect global trade routes. International patrols and joint exercises are common sights, underscoring the shared but sometimes competing goals of these nations. For Djibouti, foreign bases mean income, jobs, and a sense of security, but also risk. The presence of so many foreign militaries can complicate local politics and make the country a potential target in times of crisis. Any local conflict could quickly escalate, drawing in global militaries and turning a border skirmish into an international crisis. The stakes are high, and the margin for error is slim. Eritrea, too, has played a role in this military chessboard. The UAE ran a base in Assab to support its operations in Yemen, further complicating the regional dynamics. The proximity of so many armies makes the Doumeira dispute even more sensitive. Tensions can flare quickly, and the presence of foreign troops adds another layer of complexity to any negotiations or confrontations. Instability here threatens not just local peace, but the interests of Washington, Beijing, Paris, and beyond. The world's major powers are watching closely, aware that any disruption could ripple across continents. The world's great powers have a direct stake in what happens on these silent islands, where the fate of global trade and regional stability can hinge on a single incident. The Doumeira Flashpoint is never far from the eyes of the world's most powerful militaries. Surveillance is constant, and every movement is closely monitored. In this crowded neighborhood, even a small spark could have global consequences. The world holds its breath, hoping that diplomacy prevails over confrontation. The island's strategic value is measured not in resources, but in the attention and presence of the world's armies. making this one of the most closely watched flashpoints on the planet. In 2018, a wave of diplomacy swept the Horn of Africa. Eritrea and Ethiopia signed a historic peace deal, inspiring hope across the region. Eritrea and Djibouti met for the first time in a decade, restoring diplomatic ties and releasing some prisoners of war. The world cheered as embassies reopened and direct talks resumed. Optimism soared. Could the Doumeira dispute finally be resolved? Yet, after the initial breakthroughs, momentum stalled. Technical negotiations over the border never materialized. The core issue, sovereignty over Doumeira, remained untouched. The hope of 2018 faded, leaving the dispute unresolved but less tense. Today, the Eritrea-Djibouti border remains undefined, and the Doumeira dispute is unresolved. The main issue, who owns Ras Doumeira and the islands, no one agrees, and the risk of future conflict persists. Djibouti also demands the return of all its prisoners of war, a painful obstacle to reconciliation. The United Nations and African Union urge a peaceful settlement, but progress is slow. Djibouti is open to talks, mediation, or international arbitration. Eritrea's position is less clear. Without a formal process, the dispute is stuck in limbo. The border is quiet, but the underlying tension is ever present. A minor incident could reignite the conflict at any time. Until the core issues are addressed, the Doumeira question remains a dormant threat. The Doumeira Islands are empty rocks, but their location makes them priceless. They guard the Bab-el-Mandeb, a choke point for global trade and energy. Any conflict here could disrupt the flow of goods and oil, with worldwide consequences. The presence of major military powers nearby raises the stakes for peace and stability. The unresolved dispute is a source of anxiety for diplomats and shipping magnates alike. The world hopes for a peaceful solution, knowing the cost of renewed conflict would be immense. The Doumeira story is a lesson in how geography shapes global politics. These silent islands are a reminder that even the smallest places can command the world's attention. As long as ships pass through the Gate of Tears, the world will watch Doumeira, hoping for peace, wary of conflict. In the end, the fate of these barren rocks matters to us all.